Hi, everyone. My name is Roxy Davis. I'm the CEO of Sally Ann Creed, and today we have Jan Beamish with us. Jan, thank you so much for being here. Jan is a functional nutritionist, mom of three, a wife, has a love for cooking, and she studied functional nutrition and really has a passion for the outdoors. So thank you for chatting to us today. We're going to be talking about disease prevention and health for women in their midlife.
Thank you so much, Roxy. I'm really excited to chat with you and honored to be interviewed by you.
So I believe, Jan, through lockdown, you started your company called Breathe Conscious Living. What was the reason for that name and starting through lockdown?
Roxy, essentially, I just felt that the COVID pandemic had actually been brought to us to actually raise an awareness amongst us as humans that we were just taking for granted our fellow humans, our precious earth and animals. And I really just thought that we actually needed to just take a step back. And breathe just came to me as a name, and conscious, because I just believe that breath is essential for life. Without it, we die. And if we choose to live more consciously in terms of our nutrition choices, our lifestyle choices, and even our commercial and consumer choices, we can ensure that we have many more healthy and happy breaths on this earth.
It's so true what you've shared about breathing being essential for life. And as you were talking about it, it made me more conscious as how I'm not breathing currently as I should be. It's really interesting, something as small as breathing and how important it is. To you, what does living more consciously look like? You've spoken about nutrition, you speak about breathing, you speak about lifestyle. And as a functional nutritionist, what does that look like to you?
Sure. It's an awareness. And I think I like to start my day the right way. So, literally as I wake up in the morning, I lie in bed or I'll sit there and I'll write in my journal. And I have gratitude for whatever thing. I usually try to think of 5 things. And then I'll do some deep diaphragmatic breathing just to really get me into a state of using my prefrontal cortex and not my amygdala, which is, the fight or flight. I want to get into the right nervous system for the day. So in terms of conscious living, I would say it's really just about raising an awareness in terms of every single thing I do on a daily basis. And so none of this is rocket science. It's really actually just going back to nature and to harnessing what our bodies can actually do for us, and to try to get rid of the interference that our modern lifestyles have actually sort of bombed our bodies with, and our lives and our mind spaces and that. So it's really just trying to get rid of the clutter and live more consciously.
And when you speak about starting your day and getting yourself into the right way and your nervous system for fight or flight, essentially, I'm so intrigued by that. Maybe share a bit more about the reason behind that and why you're doing that and why it's so important.
100%. So our ancestors, if you think about it, well, we have the central nervous system, and within that we've got you've got the parasympathetic nervous system and the sympathetic nervous system. Your parasympathetic nervous system is your rest and digest, which I'm sure you're aware of. Rest, digest, and repair. And then on the sympathetic is our fight, flight, freeze. And what happened is eons ago, is that whenever we were in a state of danger, we would obviously produce the, adrenaline, because our body thought, oh, I need to run away from the tiger chasing me, or the lion or the leopard or whatever it was. And so what's happened though is that in our modern lifestyles, that we perceive that we're in a situation of stress and urgency. And as a result of this, we're often actually producing more adrenaline than we need to be producing. So this deep diaphragmatic breathing can actually have a massive impact on us converting, we're moving out of the one nervous system and back into the one that is the rest and digest. So yeah, that's essentially what I mean by the 2 different nervous systems.
And being out of the rest and digest, what implications do they have on your overall well-being and chronic disease prevention?
Okay, so when you're producing adrenaline, your body is obviously, it thinks it's in a situation where it needs to survive. So you basically, it's going to only focus, for example, say you were trying to fall pregnant. It's actually, it could even stop your menstruation, because at this stage, all it needs to do is actually conserve all the energy for your digestion, and and also sometimes your extremities, like your legs, because it thinks it might need to run away from something. So the impact can be that it will slow down your digestion and your metabolism. It's going to raise your cortisol levels as well, which has a huge impact on hormones. And as you know, there's the whole hierarchy of hormones that, you know, they all feed off each other. And if one's out of balance, it's going to have a huge impact on all the rest down the line. So obviously the stress levels, and with the adrenaline, it's just going to, it can cause inflammation. Trying to think what else. In
terms of a woman in her middle years, what effects or impact would it have on them?
Okay, so as I said, there's this hierarchy of hormones, and we need to keep the stress hormones as balanced as possible, because we don't have the stress hormones under control. It's going to have a huge impact on our sex hormones. And when we reach menopause, it's usually around our 40s, we have a 10 to 15 year period where the production of our sex hormones is now being handed over from the ovaries to the adrenal glands. And as soon as you have this decline in estrogen, you're going to have this massive, estrogen and insulin actually work like a seesaw effect. So you need to actually make sure that your estrogen levels are high enough so that your insulin doesn't get overproduced. And adrenaline and oxytocin and cortisol will all have a massive impact on your sex hormones. So there's a lot to be said about how we deal with our daily lives in terms of the lifestyle choices we make, so that we can actually try to minimize the stress. And people take stress so glibly, but it actually is vital for well-being.
Absolutely. And it's so important to be mindful and, I guess, conscious about how you start your day and how you journey through your day, because of the knock-on effect and impact that it has if you start the wrong way.
Absolutely, 100%. And I think even most of us usually have very good intentions and actually manage to keep everything going really well for breakfast and lunch. And then we usually always hit that slump at about, sort of 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. And all intentions fly out the window. And a lot of this has to do with our adrenaline levels, because we're now actually in the middle of the day with all the stresses, and you forget to do that diaphragmatic breathing, and keep on doing that. And also things like caffeine, for example, can also raise our adrenaline levels. So this is something that we need to bear in mind, because adrenaline is also going to ask our bodies to produce more of the glucose and the carbohydrate types of foods, because it's the instant source of fuel. So that is something to bear in mind as well.
I feel like most people could relate, almost everybody I'm sure could relate to that. I've been so good until 3 o'clock, and then it just fell off the wagon. Yeah. And then you start again tomorrow, and it feels like you're in this cycle that you just can't kind of get out of. So I know that Breathe Conscious Living, really you've taken a holistic approach to coaching clients to wellness. And what I'm really excited about is, I think your two focuses on prevention of chronic lifestyle diseases and just helping women through their middle years. And you've shared with me about helping women through the rough ride of hormonal fluctuations in order to help them sail through their midlife years. I feel like as a woman who's approaching 40, I'm 38 now, I'm going to be approaching those years that you're talking about. And I want to equip myself, and I know that there are many others that also want to learn more and understand as we're entering those years. I like the idea of sailing through and not so much of a rough ride. And I know that there are women who are rough riding right now in that journey that would like to sail. So if you could just share a bit about your philosophy in terms of how you coach your clients to wellness and the various pillars that you have around your teaching or your coaching.
Absolutely. So what I like to do is, first of all, I like to actually tell my clients that this isn't a quick fix. There's no magic bullet. So what I'm trying to teach them are, well, first I want to give them information so that they can understand why they've gotten to the situation that they're in. And then secondly, to equip them with tools that can actually become lifestyle habits. So if there's small, achievable little things that you change in your daily, on a daily basis, that eventually become unconscious. You literally do them as unconsciously as you floss and brush your teeth every day. And then in terms of the pillars, it's a 4-week course, but as I say, it's lifestyle tools that I'm trying to equip my clients with. But the 4 pillars that we look at is nutrition, and this involves what we're eating as well as when we're eating it. And then we've got stress and sleep, which I put together. We've got movement, exercise, and then the last thing is the psychology, which is a fundamental part. You being in that industry as well will know that, the big question I have is, I like to ask my clients is, why do we keep on eating the things we eat, even though we know what we know? So, it's really trying to actually understand what our perceptions and beliefs are around ourselves and why we actually, no matter how well educated we are and know that the burgers and pizzas aren't great for us, how can we actually tell ourselves, not to eat them? But it's around the psychology of it.
I'm so fascinated by the subject. I mean, my background is, I'm a psychological counselor, but I'm also a chef, and I've been a competitive athlete for so many years, balancing these roles, mom, wife. And it's not easy. And the different stages of life that we go through, we have different requirements on our bodies. And what I needed in my 20s wasn't what I needed in my 30s, or what I needed when I was pregnant wasn't needed maybe right now. Yeah. And I think that the one thing that has stuck with me, you've spoken about or touched on habits. And there's the psychology behind why habits are developed and how one can replace old habits with new habits. And I guess sometimes habits are not all bad, because they automate, your body automates a system to kind of require less energy to do the thing that you're doing. Wake up in the morning and brush your teeth, good habit. But there are some habits which I guess not so good, that you want to replace with better habits. Maybe you can just share in terms of, if there was one thing that somebody wanted to do today to change a habit, what could you add to their toolkit of knowledge to be able to equip them to change something small today? Because I think people go, wow, I have this bucket of habits and a mountain to change. I'm just not going to do anything. What is the first step to changing that habit?
Well, fundamentally, in terms of habits, for them to actually be sustainable, they need to be obvious. They need to be easy to do, and they need to be attractive, and then they also need to be satisfactory. So it really is. It's about, as you said, it's about automating it. So one little thing that I've actually done is I have a pair of dumbbells that are near my kettle, and so whenever my kettle's boiling and I'm waiting for a cup of tea or coffee, I literally just quickly do a set of dumbbell exercises. Or, for example, if you're trying to actually break a bad habit, is that you want to use the converse of what I've said. So you want to actually make that habit as unattractive as possible, or as inaccessible as possible. So, for example, for years now, I'm a chocoholic. And this stems back to a long time ago, boarding school years, and it became my coping mechanism. I don't have chocolates, cookies, anything that I know is going to sort of lead me off, down a bad path. I know that I can't actually have that food in the house. So it's actually just about not allowing it to be here. If we do bake or something like that, we'll have it and we'll enjoy it. Because I think we do have to treat ourselves to those things. But if there's any leftover, it gets donated to somebody immediately, because I know that I can't have something in the fridge just sitting there saying, Jan, eat me. So I have to get rid of those types of things that are, you don't need to have willpower. It's actually trying to hack the system in a way.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, in terms of that chocolate, you think, well, you know, if I brought it into the home and had it on that really high shelf for that one live a little day that I might do, you end up climbing the chair to get to the highest shelf to find it. The motivation is so high that even though it's out the way, you still know in your mind it's there. So absolutely, having it out your house is really good. I think, you know, in terms of the positive side, like you've shared about the dumbbells, creating those habits, for example, you know, in our house, we have our collagen, which is next to the kettle. So creating the habit to put that into our body by putting it into, you know, hot water in the morning. If it's out of sight, it's out of mind. So now that it's next to the kettle, it's created this habit to, oh, in the morning I wake up, I put it in. So it's really great to do both, to kind of entrench those new habits. And when it's there, we do well with it. When it's, and breaking it the same. So habit formation, and I think creating new habits is a really important part of the journey. And it's something that I know that you journey with your clients on as well.
Absolutely. So even after the 4 weeks are over, I think I want to be available to my clients for as long as possible, because, you know, we live in the real world, and I try to adopt that 80-20 or 90-10 principle. And there are going to be times where they fall off the wagon, and I still fall off the wagon. And it's really then about actually me being available to them to get curious about why they perhaps have fallen off the wagon. You know, well, I don't even like using the proverbial wagon sort of analogy, but it's really just because we you know, we can be so hard on ourselves and try to be so perfect, but we are going to actually to slip ups. And it's nice to know that for the rest of their lives they can actually phone me up and say, listen, Jan, I'm actually having a battle with this, what's going on? And then we can actually unpack it. But I really like your idea about the collagen near the kettle. I think I'm going to start doing that.
It's great that I mean, the way that your program works, it's almost like it's a journey that's for life. So it's not just you're here today and stop tomorrow, and, you know, here's your toolkit and off you go. And you are absolutely right. We all fall off this wagon, and none of us are perfect. And we do tend to beat ourselves up for not being this perfect being. And it's okay to acknowledge that. But like you said, to be curious about what happened and to understand it is important as well. Absolutely. You mentioned earlier on about, you know, most people know that fast food and sugar is not the key to good health. What is stopping those people from making the decision to change? I mean, we inherently know that the 3 o'clock slump is coming and we might lean towards this, but we don't make that decision to make a change. What is going on in that thinking process that stops them from taking that step?
It's a long, how much time have you got? I think it really is, this is where we dive. So in our 3rd week of my course, we actually dive deep into the psychology of eating. And it's really about trying to not necessarily change your beliefs, because I don't think we ever can change our beliefs. But it stems back, you know, to being a baby and actually requiring a particular adult to meet all our needs. And for some reason, we then actually, for whatever reason, something might happen when we're about 4 or 5 that our adult that's met our needs tells us that, oh, you've been such a good girl because you tidied up today. You then actually associate your being a tidy person with actually receiving love. And for the rest of your life, you will actually always want to be, your perception is that if you want love, and, you know, if you want to feel worthy of love, you actually need to be a tidy person, for example. So, and that's a very basic example, but it's really about us actually unpacking what your beliefs are about yourself, and asking the question, why am I wanting to eat? You know, what need am I trying to fulfill?
So it's that, again, being curious and digging deeper to understand 100%. Why one is doing what they are doing or not doing what they know they maybe should be doing.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've spoke about chronic disease prevention and equipping ourselves with the tools, so changing the way we eat to change this disease prevention. And I think many people would argue high cholesterol or blood pressure, it's something that's genetic, it's in them, they can't do anything to fix it, they need to be medicated, and that's the only solution. But I know on your journey, you talk about epigenetics and how you can't change your genes, but you can change your behavior, which changes outcomes and the way your genes may behave. Maybe if you can share just a bit about epigenetics and how we can look at other areas in our life that would help this change. And yes, there is a place for medication, and we're not advocating people don't take the medication. We're just saying, why not enhance your well-being by doing, these other things?
Yeah. I would love to be able to dive a lot deeper into the biochemistry of epigenetics. I've just studied, as far as I'm a nutritionist, not a doctor, so I can't really explain the nitty-gritty of why, how the biochemistry actually works. But from all the research I've done, I understand the concept that even though we are all given our certain set of genes, it's through our lifestyle changes. Well, first of all, it's our lifestyle that has actually caused a lot of these issues. And I mean, some of the research I've even done goes to say that actually cholesterol isn't a genetic issue. And we all need cholesterol, first of all. Cholesterol builds hormones, and it's our lifestyle, and it's usually a sugar issue that actually causes inflammation. So this seems to be one of the biggest issues around whether it's high blood pressure or cholesterol, things that they say are usually genetic. There definitely are people who have a propensity to take on these conditions, but our lifestyle, and in terms of it can actually be the cause of these diseases or these conditions, but it can also be the cure. So it really is about actually trying to actually make changes to our lifestyle. And it's hard because we're living in this modern lifestyle where we've been, indoctrinated in a way. There's the calorie equation. There's the fact that fat has been vilified for years. There's the other sort of misguided information that we need to eat as often as possible to keep our metabolisms high. There's all these things so it's not easy to actually change your lifestyle. But once we actually start digging a little bit deeper into these issues and realizing that if we actually make some changes to our lifestyle, we can actually, we can have a huge impact on those genes, or we can just have an impact on what our lifestyle has done to get us into that situation already.
I think it's so important, as you've shared, also to be more proactive and less reactive. So taking your health and your wellness into your own hands to make informed decisions, get the information that you need to your toolkit to decide what your journey ahead is going to look like, so that prevention is better than, cure. So looking at the proactive side is so important. And I think that's a big focus around your coaching and what you talk about.
Yes, absolutely.
So let's talk about women's hormones and your passion.
Yeah. Right.
Helping women through the rough ride of hormonal fluctuations in order to help them sail through the midlife years. I'm really excited to hear about what you have to share about women's hormones and, how you just help women along that journey.
With pleasure. Roxy, first of all, I'm perimenopausal still. And so I tried to do what we've all thought is the thing, that'll keep us slim, because you start gaining a bit of weight as you hit your 40s. And that was to work out for longer and harder and to eat less. And it didn't do me any good. And then it was only after studying functional nutrition that I actually realized that in terms of fasting, for example, we all just think that we're just little men, that women are little men, but we actually are so different, and I think we need to take this into account when we do things like fasting, because there's certain times of the month where a woman really just shouldn't be fasting because she's actually putting her body under so much stress. And all her body's going to do is actually hold on to that weight. So, and also we've almost kind of been misled by whoever it is, but saying that all these menopausal symptoms like hot flushes, insomnia, the mood swings, various other things, the gaining weight, that they're all normal. They're actually not normal. They're common, but they're not normal. And it's about changing and just changing our lifestyle, but in accordance to our hormones, that we can really sail through menopause by just being more aware of our cycle. And even though a lot of women are on contraception, for example, something like the Mirena, where they might not actually be having a specific bleed week, they still do have a cycle as such. They just don't have the manifestation at the end with the bleed week. So they're still going to have a time in their month where they're actually producing estrogen, and another time in the month where they're producing progesterone. And if they can actually just start listening to their bodies, so that they actually they're not hard on themselves on that week where they're actually trying to produce progesterone. And that is a week where they're going to be craving carbohydrates, and they're not really going to want to exercise. They might actually feel more anxious than normal. So my whole course talks about how we need to really listen to our hormones, listen to our bodies, and actually start appreciating the fact that we don't have that much longer with all these great hormones either. They're declining quite fast, and the wrinkly skin and the lackluster hair, all those things are going to start happening too. And you're going to wish you actually could have the good old influx of hormones that you used to have back in the day. It's a journey, and everybody has different symptoms that seem to, because we might have somebody with an excess of estrogen and somebody else with lacking in estrogen. So it really is actually looking at each individual and seeing how we can try to tailor their lifestyle to make them sail through menopause.
You've just said it right there. Each of us is so unique. It's very difficult to all follow the same journey, and the expectation for us to follow the same program or a similar program to what a man would is asking a lot. You share about, so your focus isn't about weight loss, and you share that you can't lose weight to get healthy. When you get healthy, the weight will fall off. And I think it's really important that a lot of people want to make a change in their lifestyle to lose weight. That's their focus. But you almost need to reverse engineer it and say your focus should be to improve your lifestyle and your well-being, and then the outcome would be weight loss.
Absolutely. One thing I shouldn't have said what I said in terms of the weight falling off, because one thing I do believe is that we actually have a natural set weight. It might not be what in our mind I think we all aspire to always be those 2 or 3 kilos lighter than we are now, or that we think we should be. So what I should have said is actually your optimal weight, because I think we also have been so bombarded by all the social media out there and commercials, sort of advertising and marketing, that makes us all feel like we need to be probably a lot thinner than we actually should be. And our bodies are so unique, and we all have just a natural shape that we, so really you're 100% right in saying that it's actually about achieving health. But instead of just saying that, generally you are going to lose some weight, because most people are probably carrying a couple of, a kilo or 2 over. But I would say it's actually about trying to have the ultimate, the first goal is to achieve health. And I think as what you'll find after that is that you actually get to an optimal weight. As a result.
And this, you absolutely are right. Your natural weight, or your optimal weight, is generally something that you go back to. And when you go on a diet or a detox program, you might drop below that weight. But the moment you go back to some sort of resemblance of what you used to do, or a normal eating pattern, you go back to that natural weight that if you're on the scale, or if your pants are feeling a certain way, you go back to where you are. And you're right as well with that. You get to that weight and you almost feel that you should be 2 or 3 kilos lighter, because that is what society might say. And I guess part of the journey is accepting and learning that optimal weight is your best weight for your body to function. versus trying to always feel guilty about having to lose the 2 or 3 kilos that you think you're carrying as extra.
100%.
Especially, I mean, weight and women in their bodies, specifically for how they feel and body positivity. It's, I guess, learning more about accepting who you are in your skin and at the weight, your optimum weight.
Yeah, that is so right. In fact, I just want to share with something that my daughter actually said this weekend to me. And she's got such a healthy self-esteem, and she's got this gorgeous, beautiful figure, and it's perfect for her. It's her build. And she just said to me, Mom, you know what you need to actually, you really need to tell this to your clients, especially those who have daughters, but even if they don't. She said, feed yourself and love your body the way you want your daughter to be fed, and for her to love her body. And you've got a daughter too. And I think it was just, I mean, this was beyond her 19 years. I was just blown away by what she said. So I just want to shout out to Ali, my daughter, for actually saying that, because it really resonated with me, that we so hard on ourselves, and yet we will do anything to actually make sure our daughters don't develop eating disorders, or we actually need to treat ourselves the way we want our daughters to be treated and treat themselves.
You've just given me goosebumps. Yeah. It is so true, especially having a daughter, being mindful of that, but also, yeah, wow, thank you.
Pleasure.
I want to chat just a bit about supplementation support during this time. I know that you are a great advocate of collagen, and I know that you do use collagen yourself. Just share a bit about how the importance of supplementation or collagen in one's nutrition plan.
With pleasure. So obviously everybody has different budgets. So I try not to push supplementation. My first sort of word of advice is always to eat as many leafy green vegetables, and really up on, in terms of the quality of their foods, they're going to have to eat a lot more vegetables. And then in terms of the animals' proteins and their fats, it's about choosing the best quality that they can afford. However, having said that, unfortunately nowadays, with monocrops and our agriculture being the way it is, our soil is so depleted of nutrients and trace elements that I do find that a lot of, most of us are actually, we are deficient in certain things: sodium, magnesium, potassium. So I definitely, if people can afford it, I do try to encourage that they take some sort of mineral supplement. But without knowing, their particular deficiencies, I think this is something where they would actually have to go and get tested. But I'm all behind supplementation, and in terms of Sally Ann Creed's collagen, I'm going to be putting it right near my kettle. But I'm a big proponent for collagen. It's something we can't produce. And it makes a massive difference to not only just to the cosmetic things that you think about, like most women I think probably take it for their skin and for their hair and their nails, but it's actually about the joints and the connective tissue that it's vital for. So it's the supplement that I recommend the most.
I find it quite amazing in terms of collagen. It's almost women tend to take it for the aesthetic value, like you say, the wrinkles and those areas, and then suddenly find, wow, like my gut is better and my joints are moving better and I have less pain. So the byproduct of collagen as a supplementation is giving you amazing primary and secondary support, which is quite incredible. And I'm always fascinated at how different people, one's body uses it in a different way. So for me, I might be seeing, longer hair and thicker nails, but for somebody else, it's about, their gut health or their knees or their joints or sleeping better. So yeah, it's really been exciting to see the change and to hear the effect that it has on individuals.
Yeah, I think you're so right. And I think what I sort of picked up from what you said there as well is that it's that uniqueness of every individual. I mean, we are as unique internally inside our bodies as we are on the outside. If we just actually sort of pay heed to what our body's trying to tell us with whatever symptoms it's displaying, and we meet those needs. For example, like with the collagen, as you said, for you, it might be hair and nails that it has a huge effect on, and somebody else, it might be their gut, or somebody else might find that their musculature, well, their connective tissue is actually improved. So if we actually just try to listen to our bodies, really listen to them, we can actually make huge changes that are going to give us such optimal health going forward.
And it's amazing how one goes to school and you go to university and you learn about, how to be better in business, and you learn about, all these various things, but you don't actually learn about how to look after the very tool, which is your body, which, making sure that is in its optimum state, which will help in all these other areas. And I think it's so important that we have a coach and a mentor or a guide to help us through that time to learn about this precious tool that we have, and to sail through menopause or help with chronic disease prevention. In terms of your journey that you go on with your clients, how can they get in touch with you, and what would the next steps be on the journey with you?
Well, in terms of getting in touch with me, I can leave you my cell phone, and I haven't got a website as yet. This is still very much a grassroots business, but I have got an Instagram account. So yeah, I am based in Cape Town at this stage. It has all been in person in terms of our courses and my one-on-one meetings with people, but I have a number of clients who literally this week have actually just said, oh, can't make it, because there seems to be a bit more of an outbreak amongst the schools. So, something that I'm definitely going to be offering more of in terms of, with clients is the one-on-ones, whether it's on Zoom or whether we actually even do our group classes on Zoom. And then in terms of going forward for them, sorry, can you just repeat that part of the question?
Just in terms of, so for one to go forward with the journey, so they've made a decision to change, what does your journey look like if it's one-on-one or in groups? I mean, you mentioned you do cooking demonstrations. I'm really
yes.
excited to zoom in on those, be it online or in person. Cooking is one of my absolute passions as well. What does the journey look like, and how can they journey with you?
Okay, so yes, I offer 2 cooking demonstrations in the 4 weeks that they're with me. And that's really just to give them some ideas on how nutritious can be delicious. Because, like, for example, I went out for dinner last night, and this little bowl of vegetables I got was so sorry for itself. I would have been embarrassed being sent to the table looking like that, And I've realized, even with my own family, I've got 3 men in my family that I have to feed. They've become so hooked on eating vegetables and eating all those healthy things, and it's all because of how it gets prepared. So yeah, that's a big part. And so I send out recipes on a weekly basis to my clients, and I have one particular client who's sailing at the moment, and she's like, oh, I can't get hold of enough vegetables. What can I do with radicchio? So, I'm on the internet trying out and then trying them at home to see what recipes actually make radicchio taste delicious. So, and in terms of them going forward, as I said, it is a 4-week course, but it really is, it's lifestyle tools I'm teaching. So I'm always available once we've done the 4-week course, just to guide them and to give them assurance that they're actually doing well. But the big thing, I think, is that we need to take ownership of our bodies. I know I did it in the past, is that I've actually handed over, I haven't been autonomous. I've really handed over my body to a medical professional or to whoever it might be, a chiropractor. And I've thought that because they've done all this studying, they know my body better than I do. But the truth is I've lived in this body for 51 years. I think I know it actually pretty well. I've just got to learn to listen to it, and I've got to try getting rid of the interference. So that's what I'm trying to teach my clients. It's actually about awareness, that curiosity in terms of the psyche side, and small habits, really. So you don't have to do everything at once. It's taking bite-sized, chunks at a new lifestyle.
I really love that. I mean, what you've said there about getting rid of interference, small habits. And yes, you are the one that lives in your body, and those that are listening today, if you listen to your body, you are the expert. You just need the tools or the toolkit to be able to make those changes. It's really exciting to be on this journey with you. And I look forward to many conversations along the way. Jan, thank you so much for being here and sharing just a bit about women's hormones and chronic disease prevention and the coaching program that you offer. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Roxy. I really appreciate the opportunity to chat with you, and I look forward to lots more conversations like this. It'll be exciting. Yeah. Thank you.
Have a great day.
Thanks, you too. Cheers.